Welcome back to another edition of the Walker Valley Football Coaches Show, sponsored all season long by Wholesale Supply Group. They're open to the public. Once again, I'm Andy Morris along with the Walker Valley head football coach, Drew Akins, and it's playoff time. Obviously, last week, talking McMinn region championship on the line, things didn't go our way, but I know you've had a good week of practice up to this point, and if you could just kind of talk about where you and the team stand at this point.
Yeah, obviously we were disappointed with Friday night. McMinn played awesome. I thought they had a great plan for us, honestly. You go back and watch it. In the first half, I thought we actually played really well. When you look at some of the things we talked about going, into the ball game, we talked about being able to run the ball against them efficiently. We use that word efficient runs, and that's something we talk a lot about, and you've heard me talk about that a lot too. We ran the ball for 5 yards a carry. We were 56 run percentage with efficiency, which is right on the line. 60% is what we're going for. So we fell a little bit short of our goal, but still 56% run efficiency is a good night running the ball, especially against their front. Their front was a really good front when it comes to stop and run. So that was something that I really was proud of our team. I thought we played well, honestly, in the first half. We got down inside the 25. We took a shot there on that first drive, and that first drive, it's just what we do. I've had people ask, hey, do you regret calling that trick play? And, I thought about it. I was like, no, not really. And the reason for that is because we've kind of made a year of when we get to that part of the field, we take a shot, we try to score now. And sometimes it's worked out really well. We looked at the stats for the season. One of the stats we'll talk about is that area of the field where we start taking shots for the end zone. And I thought, that's who we are. This is what we do. So I don't regret calling that shot. I really thought it was something that we ran that play against Cleveland and scored against Cleveland. So really thought it was a good play call. We just didn't execute it. And then we got down right before halftime, and same thing. We just didn't execute there right before halftime, through the interception, didn't get any points. So, if we score on those two drives, it's 14-14 going into halftime. You look at missed opportunity with the interception that probably we returned for a touchdown. Those things in the first half kind of led to where we are, and then the second half we had to chase because we were down and you're running out of time and all those things. But listen, McMinn had a great plan against us. They executed their plan really well. But coming out of that, I told you Friday night, we'll know a lot about who we are and how we're going to continue to compete based on how we come out of this. And man, I've been really proud of our guys, the way we've come out of this. We've had 3 of our best practices of the season these last 3 days. We made some tweaks as a coaching staff. We added a little more competition into practice time. Monday, we normally go like 10 minutes of best on best. On Monday, we went 25 minutes of best on best. The best defense versus the best offense. We went 25 straight minutes of it. So, add a little more competition. It got a little more energy into practice. I thought our guys did a great job handling that time and bringing more energy into practice. And I hope that shows up on Friday. But when it comes to the concerns I had on Friday night, our guys dispelled those really quickly this week, which gives me a great feeling, going into the playoffs.
Coach, you talked early during your statement about the rushing attack, how successful that's been. If you go back to games where, and I know you like to talk about where you faced adversity, you look at McMinn, Ray County, and Cleveland. One thing that your team has been able to do is run the football. And we talk about the offensive line. We try to give them as much credit as we possibly can. But obviously, Roman Yulo has added a whole nother dynamic in that load set. And then the emergence of Javen Hall as well. Those are guys that we've talked about all year long. But we're also starting to see that open up due to Spencer McCooch being in the backfield and being able to be a pass catcher, and Tate Roundtree being able to block solid and go out and be a pass catcher. Kind of talk about how that cohesiveness works in order to have that run success.
Yeah, so we talked about it all season, especially early on. We've got to be able to run the ball to get Dosen comfortable. First-year quarterback, it's always you're learning, and Dosen was learning early in the year what varsity level Friday night football looks like. So when you go into that, we talked a lot early in the season, hey, we got to be able to run the ball efficiently, put Dosen in some great spots where he's comfortable throwing the ball, especially if we can get extra hats into the box. And now you're throwing to one-on-one receivers. And we've really been able to do that for most of the year. I thought, our offensive line has performed really well. When you look at what we've done on the season, we got to 1960 in rushing yards. So 1,960 yards going in to the last going into the playoffs. So our goal was 2,000. We're trying to become only the second team to go for 2,000 yards in Walker Valley history. So this is something that meant a lot to us. And Friday night we're hoping to get those extra 40 yards and more to go set that goal up for our team. But I thought, like you said, the rushing attack with Roman being in that Wildcat type set, and then Javen Hall's emergence into the backfield. I thought he's had a great season. We got him on film at 912 yards rushing, 6 touchdowns, 127 rushes. So he's doing a great job. Javen's averaging 7.2 per carry. So really proud of what Javen's done this year. It was something we have talked about. It was a concern going into the season. And they've done a great job. Tate is such a huge part of what we do in the run game. He is on the front side of pretty much every run. So we're running right behind Tate all the time. He's done such a great job throughout the season, being able to be at the point of attack, but he's been so athletic when he goes into the pass routes. We put him into pass routes constantly throughout the season. He's got 17 catches on the season, right close to 200 yards on the season. So not only has he been a great run blocker for us, but he's also caught the ball out of the backfield and created some explosive plays in the passing game.
Yeah, situationally, he's been huge in those moments.
I think if you look, too, at his pass catches, I think you'd see a bunch of first down catches because the way he's in the flat, he's just catching the ball with a lot of space. So Dosen's done a great job. He's been kind of a security blanket for Dosen throughout the season. So I've liked how we've ran our offense throughout the season. We've kind of developed into kind of who we are here at the end of the year. Friday night you saw us in empty a lot. That's just the way that we've attacked McMinn in the past and the way we felt like we could attack him then. We didn't do a good enough job of executing that empty set, but we trust Dosen to be in those empty sets and make those throws. And as we move forward, you're going to continue to see us be confident in what Dosen's able to do.
And speaking of Dosen Stum, he's thrown for over 1,000 yards on the season, 13 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. Yeah. Unfortunately, a little bit tougher week against McMinn, but a credit to them. Their defense is a solid defense. We've talked about Coach Bo Cagle and their approach to things. But one thing that I think most fans agree on, and just kind of hearing everyone talk, really Dosen Stum has done a great job in year one being the starting quarterback.
Yeah, listen, really proud of him. Like I said, early on in the season, we had to get him comfortable, had to get him in spots. But then you see early in the season, game 4 of the season, he goes to Bradley at Bradley and makes 2 big-time throws in the first half to give us a lead going into halftime, and obviously we finished that one off. And then throughout the year, the East Hamilton ends up winning the region, but against East Hamilton, he had 2 big-time throws, one right before halftime, one right after halftime that really gave us the cushion to be able to coast to a win in that one. So he's played really well. The biggest thing is what you pointed out, the 13 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. We talked to him all preseason long about protecting the football, doing what he needed to do in order to protect those. And when you go watch those interceptions, one of them is a bad play call by a coach, and the other one is a poor execution by people around him. It wasn't him that caused the interception. It was some execution things around him. So really, he has accounted for 1 interception. I have accounted for 1, and then his teammates accounted for 1. So when you look at what he's done protecting the football, it's been really big, and that was one of the major things going into the season. He had to protect the football, make sure he put our defense in great situations. We end everything in a kick. That's kind of what we talk about. We try to end every drive needs to end in a kick, whether it's a punt, whether it's field goal, whether it's an extra point. Let's make sure we end in a kick. Obviously, throughout the season, we've done a good job of that. Not necessarily on Friday night. I think that was one of the big changes in the game. I talked about the drives inside the 20. or inside the 25. We had an interception on both of them. So we just got to be better when it comes to those things, especially going to the playoffs where everything is magnitude. Everything's kind of ratcheted up just a little bit. But ultimately, Doson's done a great job leading the offense.
And I feel like we've done this long enough. We kind of know where each other are going when we do these interviews and talk about the team. You mentioned the defense. Yeah. We'll hit on the defense before we take a commercial break. A couple guys that have really stood out. Of course, Jacob Mason not here with us today. Unfortunately, he's prepping for a wing eating contest. But one thing that Jacob and I have talked about, Aiden Burns in the secondary, Spencer McCooch in the secondary, and Michael Wood specifically, those guys have been rock solid. We know you mentioned Michael Wood nearly having an interception last week against McMinn. We've seen what he's capable of, had an interception against Cleveland. Those guys have done a good job. You lose guys like Braxton Smith out of your secondary, and that was kind of like going into the season, like what does our secondary look like? Those guys have filled the shoes and done a phenomenal job.
Yeah, I've been really proud of our back four guys. That was a big concern coming in too. I felt really good about the defensive line. I thought we were solid at linebacker, but our secondary was a concern going in. And the reason it was a concern is just because those guys were inexperienced. They hadn't played a ton of football, and with us hadn't played a ton of football. So Spencer was the only one that had really played consistently on Friday night, and Spencer was down at linebacker when he was playing. So he moved back to safety. So the whole setup was kind of new for those guys. But when you look at what those really five guys have done, adding Malachi Nunez in to the secondary has been a huge plus for us. And then Jerry Pugh throughout the season. Obviously, losing Jerry is hurt. Jerry broke his ankle a couple weeks ago. But he had a huge year, was a huge impact player for us, did a great job covering. People attacked him constantly, was throwing at him, and he still had 7 PBUs on the year and really didn't give up any big plays towards his side. But those guys have accounted for 12 interceptions. Spencer has 5 on his own. They've just done a great job of making sure we don't give up the big play, don't give up the explosive pass, and then getting our hands on the football and making sure it's ours. 12 interceptions on the year out of the back end has been a huge addition to a team that had, coming off a year where we had a bunch of turnovers. They've kind of kept that going where they're just hawking the ball constantly. And I thought AB's played great all year long. He's got 54 tackles. When you talk about that from a safety position, him being willing to come down in the box and play. Malachi Nunez the same way. He has over 40 tackles on the season. So we've done a great job as a team creating a secondary that flies to the football and is creating explosive plays for us on the defensive side and creating turnovers for us. So really proud of the back end and what they were able to do throughout this year.
Yeah, and obviously we've seen what Troy Duskevich and Jack Shantz have been able to do at the end positions, constantly pressuring the quarterback. Again, you talk about losing a guy like Connor Phillips off last year's team who was drawing penalties left and right, getting to the quarterback. Those guys have kind of picked up where he left off, and not to mention the emergence of Braylon Beard at linebacker, who's only a sophomore.
Yeah, the front seven has been kind of where we hung our hat throughout the season. Even McMinn came out the other night. They threw the ball more than I've seen McMinn throw all season. So when you talk about, hey, what have they done throughout the year, I think they had a good amount of respect for our fronts as well. Troy Duskevich has been just an absolute ball player for us all year long. Jack Shantz is always so solid. He just does his job over and over. It's not flashy with the stats, but, man, he just does what he's coached to do constantly. Puts other guys in great situations to go make those plays. Braylon, as a sophomore, has just had an outstanding year. You look at 62 tackles on the year. And who I'm extremely proud of is the guy beside him who filled in for Zeke. When Zeke goes down week 2, he was already kind of rotating in, but then Tyler Goldman stepping in and becoming the starter and, kind of solidifying that linebacker position. He's up over 55 tackles on the season. He's created a lot of plays, had the pick 6 against Howard. So he's been a kid that we expected to play a lot, and he's played more than we expected him to because of some injury situations. But we've had an injury at all 3 levels of our defense. We've had, obviously, started the year without Eli Cross. Eli's been such a great leader for us, even in that role. He's constantly talking to our guys, encouraging our guys.
He's like having another coach on the sideline.
Him and Zeke both. Zeke at the second level, having those guys be able to encourage our guys. Those guys have played a ton of football, so their knowledge and their willingness to still be a part of what we're doing and their care for our program has been very impactful. And then Jerry on the back end. So we've sustained some injuries, sustained some adversity, and our defense has still played really good football. So, we could go through name after name after name, but those are the highlights from the season and the guys that have played really well. We could continue to go through all these names, but defense as a whole, when you look at what our defense has done as a group, it's been really impressive, and really proud of those guys defensively throughout the season.
Coach, a good kind of intro to the playoff season breakdown of our team up to this point. When we come back, we're going to dive into the playoffs a little bit more specifically with this matchup with Lenoir City. Welcome back to the Walker Valley Football Coaches Show, sponsored all season long by Wholesale Supply Group. They're open to the public. Walker Valley head football coach Drew Akins in the building here with me, Andy Morris, and it is playoff week. Excited about getting on the road, kind of moving on from last week. And a quick shout out to Mr. Ethan Evers and his production team here. They've got some awesome graphics. So if you're listening to us on the radio, be sure to get on YouTube, Facebook, and check out the video portion of this. We're not doing a film breakdown this week because we got playoff football to talk about.
Yeah, really excited. I don't know if I talked about it, but I don't know who all I've talked to. I think we talked about it on Tuesday. I think it's become – we've set the expectation that we play playoff football here at Walker Valley, and that wasn't always the expectation. Even in my first couple of years, it was not – hey, we just expect to be playing in November. And I think it's become the expectation. It's no longer, hey, did we make the playoffs? It's, hey, who do we have in the playoffs? What seed are we? What are we looking like if we were to win this game? What do we have the next? So not only has it become the expectation that we are in the playoffs, I think it's starting to become the expectation that we're playing multiple weeks in the playoffs. So really excited to make that part of our program, part of the expectations in our program. The first round matchup is against Lenoir City, a team that we are very familiar with. I think this will be the fourth meeting we've had in 6 years. They were in our region the first 2 years in 19 and 20. And then obviously last year we played them in the second round at our place, and this year we're going to their place. Really cool stadium, really cool atmosphere. Press box, it's really low and it feels like you're on the field. So
I'm looking forward to that part of it.
It's a really cool place, and it's a place that I've played there several times. This is the first time we've played there and they've had turf. So excited to be on the turf at their place and see what that looks like. I really enjoy going to other people's stadium and seeing how they kind of set up their stadium and their visitor stuff and what their new turf looks like. The Lenoir City has added that in the last 2 years. So excited to go there. We have a lot of familiarity not only with the program, but now with the new head coach. Coach Scott Cummings obviously is was in the Cleveland area for 4 or 5 years at Cleveland. I don't believe I never coached against him while he was there. And I'm not sure we even played them as a program.
Yeah, I don't think we did.
While he was there, but excited to see him. We kind of go back. I've had a relationship with him, just talking relationship. I have a ton of respect for what he's done throughout his career. Obviously, going all the way back to when he was at Knox West, and he had some dudes there, and they went and won a state championship. But he's got a great lineage as a head coach. It's going to be cool to be on the field with such a legendary guy in the state of Tennessee.
Yeah, so diving into Lenoir City a little bit, 6-4 on the season. They finished second in Region 3 5A. Coach, it's easy coming out of a game last week with McMinn to say we could have been region champs, kind of doom and gloom. That doesn't seem to be the case, especially with you, but the players and the community here at Walker Valley. So when you look at this matchup, all credit to Lenoir City. The energy and the talk and all the hype, the stuff that coaches don't typically buy into or listen to, the energy kind of has Walker Valley seeming to be the favorite in this game.
Yeah, I don't know if I would say that. I think they've played a really tough.
That's why I say the coaches don't buy into that stuff.
Yeah, they, I think they played a really tough schedule. That when you look at their losses, they have Sevier County, who we're going to talk about here in a second on their schedule. Obviously, Oak Ridge is a statewide powerhouse that they've been around for a long time. Some of their losses are tough. Even Maryville Heritage this year, they're playing so much better football. We have that film and was really impressed watching Maryville Heritage and what they were able to do. So it's a good football team. They run an unconventional offense for this day and age. Used to, it's an old school offense. You look at split back veer and what Coach Cummings has done with that over the years through all of his stops. They always have a strong rushing attack. Defensively, you're going to see them just move around a lot. So that kind of puts me in a situation where when I'm calling plays, I don't know exactly where they're going to line up. So you got to be kind of careful. Hey, you're calling plays into a front that you're not exactly sure what the front's going to end with. So we've just got to do a really good job of making sure our kids are prepared and that we're calling plays that it doesn't matter what they're lined up in, we can handle them. So then defensively, we've got to stop run. That has got to be our number one focus. Got to stop run. We got to leverage the football better. When we talk about last week they were able to get to the edge on us a few times and it put us in bad situations, gave up chunk plays. We've got to do a better job with that. When we get them behind the sticks, which again in the first couple drives with McMinn, we had him behind the chains and didn't get stops. That's got to be a focus for us as well. So, like you said, I was really happy with how our guys came out. I wasn't sure that we were going to come out of that game Friday with a lot of energy, and I've been really proud of our team. I've been really proud of our program, our coaches, everybody involved with just the way we've responded. It gives me a lot of hope going into this game that we're going to play our best game. Now, again, we're at playoff time, so your best game may not be good enough at this point, but I have a lot of hope that we're going to go play a really good football game.
But yeah, right now, week one of the playoffs, everyone's 0-0. It's a fresh start to your season. The opportunities are endless, and obviously we know what the Mustangs were able to do last year. It's a different team, but that same kind of energy is still here. So while Mr. Evers is pulling up the graphic for us of the playoffs, once again, shout out to Ethan Evers. You talked about that split veer offense, very unique offense. They like to eat a lot of clock with that, so our listeners and viewers can kind of be prepared for that. The linemen like to kind of dive block. It's a very unique offense that I'm excited to go up against.
Yeah, they do a good job with it. It's going to be a great challenge. It's something we haven't seen at all this year. So figure we start with our district, our area, District 3, our Region 3 and 4. When you look at some of the matchups in that area, at the very top, Ray County and Oak Ridge. I've watched film on Oak Ridge. They got some really talented guys. Coach Rang is a really good coach. They've won that region. But listen, I feel like Coach Harvey and Coach Ashby and that group of coaches can go to Oak Ridge and compete with anybody.
Yeah, don't count them out.
Yeah, I think, and at this point of the year, it's so hinged on who is healthy. Who is the most healthy at this point of the year? Like you said, this list of the right column with all the games from the season, none of that matters anymore. All that matters now is really your 0-0, who's healthy right now, who's going in with the momentum right now. I think when you look at that second little block here with McMinn and Clinton, I think McMinn's going in the playoffs with a ton of momentum. They've won 4 out of their last 5 games. I think they started the year 1-3 or 1-4, and now they've rattled off 4 out of 5 wins. They have a ton of momentum. The quarterback's playing so much better. We saw last week.
It's been a tale of 2 halves of the season for McMinn County.
Absolutely. So, I really expect McMinn to come out of that just because they're so physical up front. And they're playing really good football at this point of the year. Obviously, our game against Lenoir City, a 3 seed last year came down to McMinn last year and won. So a 3 seed beating a 2 seed is not out of the realm of possibility. It's something that's happened actually kind of often. So it's something we're trying to continue that trend around the state. And then East Hamilton, obviously East Hamilton has had an outstanding season. Coach Nance is a great coach. I think they'll go to Carnes and they'll handle business there. I have that expectation. So I really could see as you go into this, really good games, really good competition. I like our region's chances in these games. I think our region has a good opportunity in all the games, but ultimately in playoff football, it just comes down to who's most healthy, who's got the momentum, and then who goes and plays a game where they take advantage of that momentum within the game, because the momentum going into the game will matter up until the kickoff, and then it becomes who makes those plays during the game. So really excited to see how our region stacks up against Region 3.
And, Coach, you touched on it, looking at the matchup with Lenoir City. Obviously, no pun intended, the ball's in your court, the ball's in your hands to take the win there and move on and potentially face an East Hamilton team that you beat in the regular season. Mm-hmm. Obviously, a battle of a football game, a tough football game, but a game that when you're talking about high school kids, they know they can win the game because they've done it.
Yeah, honestly, that is a little bit of a concern because we just haven't handled having the target on our backs very much. We're gonna have to spit a different message if we get to that game, where hey, this, I know we've beaten them before, but you have to understand the target is now on you. Where the best game we've played all year, in my opinion, was East Hamilton, but it's because East Hamilton had the target on them. We put a target on that game because of what happened last year. We've not been able to muster the same intensity when we have the target on us. So we've got to make sure, first and foremost, we win this game, but then that we handle our business moving forward. So really excited to see what comes out of these games, because I think it could be a really cool set of matchups for our region.
And, Coach, while we've got it pulled up, let's go ahead and shift on up to Districts 1 and 2, kind of looking at what could be a potential state semifinal matchup down the line. I know we're getting way ahead of ourselves, but, again, Mustangs made the state semis last year. No one expected it. It's not outside of the realm of possibility. So just to kind of get a look, obviously, Sevier County has had an extremely solid season, and they're kind of the machine rolling on the top part of that bracket.
Yeah, man, they're playing really good football. Coach Loveday does a really good job. I've been really impressed with what he's done with that program over the last really 2 or 3 years. They've been rolling here for the last couple of years. That matchup in round 2, my expectation is that they're going to be meeting Powell. And that game could be a really tough game. That's unfortunate that's a second round game, because those two football teams are really good. And listen, it doesn't matter, what their record is, who they are right now. That team there at the bottom, Knox West, is always going to be a team to be reckoned with.
They've been there before. They know how to handle it.
They just have a different maturity level as a playoff team. They've been around. They understand what it takes. Coach Lamar Brown is one of the guys in our area that are in Tennessee statewide that I just have a ton of respect for. The way he runs his program and just what he's built there has been really impressive for me to watch. So really looking forward to some of these matchups too. Even Knox Halls, gave West all they wanted during the regular season. I think West ended up winning by 1 point, 28-27, if I remember correctly. So there's going to be a lot of dogfights in that region, in that set of the bracket. That I think it will be very interesting at who comes out of that. And then, as they match up against our regions, Region 3 and 4, whoever comes out of our region will have a juggernaut to play against, no doubt, no matter who it is. So, but again, it's our region's turn to host that as well. It's the bottom of the bracket's turn to host it. So whoever comes out of our bracket, our 8-team bracket, is going to have an opportunity to host a home semifinal game. So again, that just a whole lot of interesting dynamics within the playoffs, especially on the east side of the bracket. The west side, on the other hand, I don't have a lot of doubts of who's going to come from that side. As we kind of transition into, 5 and 6 would be next. We'll just breathe on these because these are more statewide things. But when you look at regions 5 and 6, you talk about a juggernaut that's within this is Page. So as you zoom in on that, you see Page. They're going to play Columbia round 1. this is one of the more impressive things that I've heard from any high school football team ever. Page played 10 football games this season. They gave up 13 total points this year. They had 8 shutouts. They gave up 6 in one game, 7 in another game. One of the most impressive defensive seasons that I've ever heard of. I think they are the team to beat statewide. They have been absolutely dominant throughout this year. Coach Rathbone, I had the opportunity to coach with him in an all-star game last year, statewide all-star game. He's got a level of toughness that a lot of head coaches don't have, and he's got some really good football players too. I fully expect them to be in that state championship game again. And this year, I really expect them, no matter who comes from the other side, I think they're the favorite statewide no matter what, just because their defense is so next level. They got 2 Division I linebackers on their squad and really surrounded by several other Division I players that they're tough to deal with. And I look forward to watching them in Chattanooga when we get there. Hope to be on the other side.
I was about to say, hopefully it's across the field.
It would be really cool to be across the field, but ultimately, I have very little doubts that you're going to see them in Chattanooga. And then the last set of regions, this is more really far west Tennessee. So when you look at Regions 7 and 8, Regions 7 and 8 has some names that you're going to be really familiar with. I think the number one name you're going to see there that you've seen before is Beach. Beach has had a great season. They're 9-1 on the year. Their only loss, I believe, is to a 6A program. Southwind has a quarterback who was up for Mr. Football last year. I think we're expecting that again. Henry County is a program that you've heard of for years. Looking at their record at 6-4, but ultimately Henry County's a program that's been around for a long time. And then Mumford, the team that I had already said, Southwind, how they had made it through to the playoffs into the quarterfinals last year. I fully expect Mumford to also compete for that. Mumford beat Southwind during the season. So, having Beach, I think Beach and Mumford are the favorites to come out of that bracket. But you do have some names that you've heard of before with Henry County, Southwind, and even Hendersonville, at 7-3. They're a program that's historically been very good. So it'll be really interesting to see who comes out of 7 and 8. But ultimately, I think whoever comes out of 7 and 8, their run ends in the semifinals because they're going to run up against Page.
Yeah, gotta look out for Page, unfortunately, for those teams. Once again, shout out to Mr. Ethan Evers for this graphic that him and his crew have put together for us. That's been a lot of fun. Hopefully, for the following weeks, we can dive into this a little bit more as the Mustangs progress through this bracket, Coach. But moving on, we've got some very important matters to get to tonight. There's a big event going on. We already touched on it. Jacob Mason, who usually does film breakdown, tapped out on us today and said, listen, I've got wings to eat. I got to get ready. Kind of tell us about the event tonight at Zaxby's.
Yeah, really excited. Zaxby's been such a great partner for us this year. They've sponsored our Player of the Week post that we do every week. They have gifted our scout team players and our academic Player of the Week a little prize every single week that has been really cool to give to those guys. It kind of shows how important those scout roles are and how important academics are. We chose for that prize to go to that group. But ultimately, Zaxby's has been a great partner. They're hosting our cheerleaders, our band, and our football team tonight for a little pep rally.
And your announcers.
Yeah, and our announcers from 6 to 6:30. And then the ultimate event comes down at 6:30 with the wings eating contest. And we got 2 cheerleaders on the panel. We got 3 football players on the panel. And then Jacob Mason gets to show his talents when it comes to eating wings. So excited to see it. I've heard so much about it. So we're excited to see that go down tonight. But really just thankful for Zaxby's and their partnership with us and what they've done for us. And for our school over the last few months. It's been a really cool partnership that's come this year, and we really look forward to continue that throughout the years.
Yeah, so if we went to a 5-star type rating, Jacob Mason's a blue chip in this category. He's a 5-star. Like Kirby Smart's on him if that's the scenario. But I told him he needs to watch out. Troy Duskevich and Bryson Farley, those guys are sneaky.
Yeah,
those guys are sneaky.
It'll be a fun night. And like I said, it's just a really cool thing that you don't get in big cities. I think Cleveland is kind of teetering on that line of like we're growing kind of past our infrastructure, but it's still got such a small town feel, and that's what makes football in this area so different and so cool. Our area cares, and it's put on display every single Friday how much our area cares and how much our community cares, and really excited to celebrate the season with our community, but also celebrate first round of the playoffs and hopefully more.
Yeah, big shout out to Zaxby's once again. Thanks to Wholesale Supply Group. To your point, yes, this community loves their high school football. And moving on here in the first round of the playoffs, big game tomorrow as we're filming this up at Lenoir City. Coach, give us the details on kickoff.
Yep. So 7 o'clock kickoff. All playoff games are 7 o'clock kickoff. There is a online ticket opportunity. If you go to our Walker Valley Football social media, the links are on those social media. So if you want to go to those links, you can buy the ticket before you get there. There is also a cash option once you get there. Tickets are $10. Everyone has to have a ticket. This is not one of those games where you can get in. Everyone has to have a ticket. So ultimately just excited to go up and play in the playoffs. Playoffs have a different feel. So really excited about the atmosphere, the environment at Lenoir City, and hoping we go up there and play our best football. And if we do that, we can walk off the field happy no matter what.
And once again, we do encourage all of our viewers and listeners, make the trip up to Lenoir City, hop on I-75. You're there in no time. Support this group of players that have done a great job, these coaches all year, showing up on Friday night and putting a good product on the football field. If you're not able to make the trip, double coverage from WCLE you'll be able to watch on mixtv.tv, and you'll also be able to listen to me and Jacob Mason if he makes it through this wing challenge tonight on WCLE Sports 99.1. So, Coach, with that, appreciate you joining us again. Look forward to hopefully doing this again for another couple weeks.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much, and go Mustangs.